Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of HaiPulse webinar. Today, I have the privilege to be joined by Nicholas Hughes from Firag next to me.
Afternoon.
Welcome, Nicholas.
Thank you.
So today, we're going to talk about the flexible automation for apparel industry. Apparel, we pretty much refer to everything that has to do with clothing, footwear, fast fashion, e-com, or white label. Anything that you can wear pretty much. We're going to go through a quick introduction for both companies, HaiRobotics and our partner Firag here. And also we're going to tell you about our perception of the pinpoints and challenges that we see that is happening in the industry. And then later on, we're going to share a study case which we did together in Scotland in the UK. And then from there, we'll be happy to receive your questions and remarks. All right, without further ado, let's get started. Well, so for those who don't know about Hai yet, I guess you know one thing or two about Hai, Nick. We are a company that pretty much focuses on the AMR/ACR focused or based ASR system, which typically will be served as a core of an automation in the warehouse, right? We have a strong presence in Europe since our foundation here in 2021. We've delivered more than 5,500 robots across Europe, across 18 countries. And on the logo wall, you'll see some of the customers that we proudly serve. And as mentioned, they range from fast fashion brands to white label to sports brands and all. So we serve definitely a variety of fashion customers across Europe. On the other hand, Hai as a company, I think Nick himself has personally sold quite a few different solutions from Hai here. We have different options for different solutions. I'm not going to go through them one by one. Just so you know that essentially we have solutions that can handle different load carriers ranging from totes or carton direct handling or different sizes of totes. We can combine or consolidate tote picking and pallet picking at the same station. We have solutions that targets ultimate high storage density, and we also have solutions that are very much specialized in high performance density. So that's the number of totes you can extract out of the same given area per hour. Yeah, so different solutions have different, let's say, I would say pros and cons, but different target markets or target segments. That is pretty much in a nutshell about Hai. And now, Nick, what can you tell me about Firag then?
Yeah, thanks for having us, Sean. So quick introduction. So I'm Nick, Managing Director for Firag UK. Been in the industry around 15 years or so and have been part of the Firag family for about a year. Main mission and purpose is to support Firag on their transition to a fully fledged general contractor with software-led projects, partnering with people like yourselves. So we've been around a long time, since the 50s, a titan in the print and press industry, and over the years have sort of pivoted into the intralogistics space. And you can see some of the products that we offer here on the slide, mainly around transport and sortation. We're probably most commonly known for our pocket sorter, which we will touch on in a little bit. And when you gave us a call and invited us to be able to participate in a fashion apparel-based webinar, I was really, really excited because I feel this is where both Hai and Firag can really combine our best strengths. You can see we've got a very impressive reference list centered around fashion and apparel. And the video that you see here is one of our more impressive sites with JD Sports, doing the full end-to-end warehousing system.
Nice. So as you can tell by now that Hai, us as an ASR vendor, we've served quite some customers from the apparel, general broad sense apparel world. Nicholas himself and Firag also had good and profound experiences in the apparel industry. What would you say, Nick, as in the main challenges or pinpoints that you see across your customers from the industry?
Sure. So these aren't particularly new challenges. They're just slightly changed in, I would say, how they're approached and how we solve them now. So a big one is, space, footprint, and cube utilization. warehousing is getting more expensive, et cetera, et cetera. But the things specifically in fashion apparel, we're seeing a wider range of products, a wider range of order profile, which can pose challenges when putting in automation. But the big thing that we see now is traditionally, say 10 years ago, you would have had different warehouses for different processes. So you would have had store replenishments coming out of one shed, e-com fulfilled from somewhere else, or even if they're in one roof, they would still be heavily segregated. And what we're finding is omni-channel just sort of poof, came out of nowhere about 10 years ago. And now the customer demands that they have one solution that can service all of these different streams. And when you combine that with high volumes and especially in apparel, high return rate, it can be very difficult to get the cost of order fulfillment to where it needs to be competitive.
Indeed. So none of these challenges you see from the slide are like new. They do, if I may summarize, they do become, let's say, more challenging and more complex in the past couple of years, especially when it comes to space and footprint. That's one of the key challenges, especially when we talk about e-commerce these days. Customers want their products in like no time. They also want their return to be processed in no time, which pose challenges. And there's, again, an ever-growing range of SKUs, different types, different colors, different style, different texture, which all pose challenges to the space that you need as a warehouse. And on the other hand, complexity also grows as you have different flow, you have different product ranges and all. So we're going to talk in a later slide about these two main challenges that we see from the industry. To begin with, footprint. Warehouse is essentially space, right? So you never have enough space in your warehouse. You always need more. One thing that we see as a trend is that people wanted to have higher storage density, right? So they wanted to store more things in the same footprint. Like you guys have been around for much longer than we did, right? So what do you see? How did the people handle this before? And what do you see the trends are that how are people intending to do things these days?
For sure. So generally, the solution was mezzanine, more mezzanine. Back then, the labour challenge wasn't so big, especially in the UK markets, and it was a simple thing to do, right? You just put in extra mezzanine, more shelving, and the rest would sort of figure itself out. The issue is that traditional model doesn't really work anymore. When you look at the cost basis, particularly the cost of steelwork, mezzanines, and installations going up, whereas the price of automation, especially with a high robotic system, is only ever actually seemingly coming down. So what we found is these crossroads where actually it makes more sense now to get the best of both, where you can get increased capacity. You don't tend to need more labor because it's goods to person, right? Yep. You don't have this unproductive travel time as you would do with mezzanines. And I think people get this impression that automation is complex, but actually when you break it down, it's no more complex than shelving in some instances, really. But the key thing, and this is the point and the topic that a lot of customers are really focusing on now, it is this cost per order fulfilled. What does that number now look like? And we're finding that to achieve the margin, you have to automate.
Yeah, indeed. So automation, from our perception, from our experience, is that these days in this building bigger warehouses, expanding newer, let's say, compartments in the same building, we need a smarter way to better use the space. Yeah. So funny to say that we at HaiRobotics, we use, let's say, we work with two primary, let's say, factors to evaluate how efficient the system is. That is storage density and performance density. You might have noticed I have mentioned density in both words. All of them had to do with the constraint of the space. Yeah, so our aim as an ASR system is to give you higher storage density, meaning that you can stuff more boxes or things into the same given footprint, same area. And also performance density, meaning that you'll be able to extract more totes or storage units out of the same given area per hour. So by doing this, will help you save space that you need for storage and for performance.
100% agree.
Yeah. And like mentioned, two things from the challenges and the pinpoints. One thing is storage. It's a space that is needed. And on the other hand is a complexity. What do we see about complexity comes in, let's say, two branches, right? So on one hand, you have different flows. As Nick mentioned, you got B2B, you got B2C, store replenishment, you got white label, you need different added value service, you got returns, you got all kinds of different things, right? And there's also a complexity when it comes to different ranges of SKUs, right?
For sure.
The things like, for instance, the high-end garments, the accessories, and the footwears. If you pick full boxes or you pick loose items, how you process say a pair of earrings is very much different from how you process a heavy and big that you can fold leather jacket, right? So we need to tackle an ideal automated system or combined system should be able to handle all these flows and all these SKUs within the same system. And this is something I can't promise that we'll handle all of them, but at least we could handle or tackle complexity or reliability, offer reliability and flexibility from different aspects. From a high system, from an ASRS point of view, we can handle, first of all, different load carrier sizes, from carton directly to smaller totes, bigger totes, combined with pallets, items on tray, or we can also offer different types of workstations for different flows. You have the one-to-one station. You can pick directly into order. For packaging, you can pick to a batch. You can also pick full boxes from a pallet. These are the things that we can handle at workstation design. We can handle different flows. And also by using certain type of high solutions that we can achieve rather high storage and performance density, meaning that you can incorporate more flows into the same given system, right? So on the ASRS part, a few things that we try to make the solution better. One is to handle multiple types of SKUs. And then the other is to tackle different flows featuring different workstations. Not to mention that there's always an easy drop off to a conveyor connection. Yeah, and from that conveyor connection, FIRAG or our partners could essentially bring them to another step of say consolidation, order processing, or whatever, to make it work even there. And then when it comes to density, a high system is very much focused on providing you with a higher storage density and performance density. And we'll later address it in a study case that I sort of spoiled a little bit, how scalable the system is. Yeah. So these are the things we at Hai could offer in order to tackle different flexibility when it comes to the ever-growing, let's say, ranges of SKUs or number of flows within the apparel industry. And from process-wise, because what I spoke of is pretty much ASRS, right? That's our butter and bread. You guys as a general contractor, as an integrator, you bring everything together, you give the turnkey solution to the end customer. What do you see about the complexity?
Yeah, so it's a common challenge, and I think the complexity can spill over into the design very, very easily. And I think this is kind of the benefit of our collaboration, is that we both are trying to provide as simple as possible system in a very complex world. So what we don't necessarily want to do, and it almost sounds a bit counterintuitive to a point, is that we don't necessarily want a perfect process for every single eventuality, because it will end up becoming imperfect by its very nature. So we need to move from having everything very rigid and very, very fixed to be able to offer a system that is designed for variability. You know, different changes in what's popular today is going to be not the same tomorrow, right? So you need a system that can adapt to change, and we believe that the Hai product system is really ideal for that, but also to be able to keep the flow as flexible as possible, so that if your order profile changes, you could adapt very, very easily without redesigning your whole warehouse. So this is our philosophy, and when we go to design a system, this needs to be at the forefront, because we've been victims of it ourselves, over engineering or putting in tons of conveyor that maybe when maybe an operator could have just picked that up and actually just
Walk with it, yeah.
moved it 5 meters to a bit of conveyor or something like that.
Yeah.
So what we tend to find is, in a complex operation, the winning strategy isn't over-engineering and more complexity. What we want is a well-oiled machine and much less friction.
Yeah. And you want to be prepared for the changes that you might not even foresee in the future, right? Like you mentioned, like what could be popular on the market in terms of clothing and fashion could change from day to day or even like minute to minute, right? So
exactly,
you want a system that can adapt to these kind of changes that you can't predict or foresee.
Yeah, and there is another benefit to actually simplification. So when we look at what the market is demanding, it's moving very much away from, say, the cheapest capital investment. And the nice thing is that businesses are looking much more longer term. The forecasting data is much better than it's ever been, which allows us to take a much more holistic view in what is actually the lowest cost of order fulfillment. It's not just even about just the lowest cost per pick. Mm-hmm. It's the whole end-to-end processes, factoring, HR, holidays, business rates, all these things. And what we find, which I'll show you in a few minutes, is that we believe we've got a sweet spot, which is a combination of flexibility, scalability, and cost, which is what I'm really excited to show you in a minute.
So essentially what you're saying is that the high part of the ASRS is definitely a flexible and a low-cost system. Mm-hmm. You trying to incorporate that part as a peak engine into your overall system.
Yep.
By also putting your added value, your field of expertise into not over-engineering, not over-designing the system, so that the customer can have the lowest cost per, let's say, entire journey of fulfilling an order, right?
That's it. It's about the full journey.
Indeed. And then how exactly? Do you have an example that where you think you could make this work? Give us a visualized idea how you think this lowest cost per order fulfillment could be.
Funnily enough, Sean, just as it so happens, we do have an example.
Oh, that's new to me. Not really.
So, as you know, I mentioned sort of earlier on that Frag are most commonly known for our pouch systems. Mm-hmm. And we believe that combining the high robotics system with our pouch offers the market, in the right application anyhow, the best of all the things we've just discussed. So when we talk about space, we're finding a trend in new construction is that the building heights are getting taller, generally around that 16 to 18 meter mark now, which means that even if you put in a ASRS system or a high system, which tops out around 12 meters, there's still a bit of a void. Mm-hmm. So what we're thinking to do is to put a mezzanine, a rack-supported floor essentially off of your system to then deploy all the Skyfall equipment above. Mm-hmm. So that means we have a very, very compact, very, very fast system that is adaptable. And the reason it can do that is that the pouch system is a transport, buffer, and sortation system in one. So traditionally, if you'd say discrete pick, you'd have to pick the complete order at the one station. We can essentially pick any units from any station into any pouch, and it will get buffered, sorted, and end up at the pack bench in the correct order. Now, it also means you'd need a lot less conveyor, because again, all this would have been handled, conveyors fixed. Fair enough, the pouch is sort of fixed, but it's up in the air. So it means that you have all this roaming space still available on the floor. And the net result is, because we get a very efficient batching system, the strain or the stress on the ASRS is significantly reduced. So it could be what might have needed a shuttle, now doesn't, and can be done with an AMR system. And we're finding that like-for-like projects, we can get a 30 to 50% reduction in fleet size, which is
quite significant.
Which is really impressive. And the best thing is, the more units that we pick, the more efficient it gets.
Yes.
Assuming they're all they're coming from the same item. But it means if you're picking, one day you're picking 2 of an item, and the next day business has gone up and you're picking 3, and then it's 4. You still only need that one transaction. So we're actually getting better and better the busier we get, which is really, really cool.
Indeed. From a ASRS point of view, add something to that as well. Essentially, you could use an ASRS system or an AMR-based ASRS for order picking, for sequence picking. That's all fine. We can do that. But as you can imagine, the system does its best work when it has the liberty to choose what is most convenient for each and every robot that is working in the system, right? So by having as Nick mentioned, a transport, a sortation, and buffer engine downstream, we do give the liberty to our ASRS the freedom to choose whatever tasks is the most convenient, the easiest for each and every robot.
That's it.
By doing that, you give the highest, you take the best benefit out of an AMR system. You also take the best benefit out of a pouch system downstream, right? So this would be a very good use case. Of course, it doesn't apply to every single use case, but when your use case does fit, this could be very competitive on both ends. First of all, like I said, you got the full throttle out of the AMR system, the ASRI system. You got also the full throttle out of the pouch system. And as mentioned, the part of the workstation designs, which we have multiple options, in this case could also be rather, let's say, easy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it will be a no-brainer, right? You don't have to look for a target to put your order in. Your operator simply have to take an order, put it onto the pouch, onto the pocket, and then it will be taken away from there. So by doing that, we can also reduce the number of pick stations or picking operators needed, which is CapEx cost for the customer, right? Needed at the stations. So in this case, I believe this is a very good combined system that we could together offer to the market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
And also to add to that, Hai, with all that said, we are eventually a manufacturer for ASR systems. Yeah. So what happens upstream, what happens downstream, these are the added values where we could jointly achieve with our partners like FIRAG.
Exactly.
Now, all these are nice. These are a very good rendering and all. Do you actually have a reference case together between Hai and FIRAG?
Yeah, absolutely, and we'd love to go through it now. And the partnership is between us is not just about finding these massive systems where we can put pouch systems in. We're very much keen and eager to help the SME. Yep. I think actually there's a real sweet spot for us all there, where we've come into businesses and offered the support from design through to actually transitioning to automation too. And this is exactly what we've done with Prestige Leisure. So these guys are a leader in white label goods. So for example, the FIRAG t-shirt I have on now would have started its life as a black t-shirt and would have been sent to an embroiderer or a printer or whatever. And that's the business they're in. It's very, very competitive. We know we've done systems combined with their competitors, and it's a very low margin, process heavy business actually. Yes. And there's actually a change of order profile that they're experiencing now, which is before people would order 10, 20, 30, 40 things at a time. But even though the driver of the business is mostly B2B, the order profile is looking more like an e-com order profile. Yep. Where people will just order as they get orders from their customers. Yep. So it's a really interesting space to be in, and we've come up with an excellent solution with you guys with Hai. I'd love to just show you what that looks like on the next slide here.
Yeah, and that actually, what you said about the business mode from Prestige Leisure actually echoes with what we said earlier. Two things: space limitation and complexity. Right? You've mentioned that they've got also ever-growing complexity in their flows. The orders are becoming smaller and smaller. Their customers, the printers, the distributors, they require more and more flexibility in their deliveries, more speed as well. All of these, they have also higher return rates. They have also higher number of different SKUs day by day. And another thing, as you mentioned, we've worked with similar customers in other countries as well, that they have quite high demand in terms of days on hand stock. Yeah, so that also means that they always got these challenges from space. What did you do eventually? What did you do to help Prestige Leisure precisely? Can you walk us through the solution that you came up with?
Yeah, sure. So here we have the HaiPulse System 3 in a triple deep configuration, meaning that we get the best storage density that we can possibly get with a Hai product. It's 10 meters high with around 80 or so robots. And the interesting thing with this project is it didn't start life necessarily looking like this. So the initial project was around half the size. I'm handling sort of the A's, the faster movers, and the part on the left here was kind of just open really to see as an expansion space, should we say. And interesting bureaucracy in the UK, getting planning applications over the line can be a little bit challenging. And it was just awkward timing where on this project we were all ready to go, and then the planning application lapsed, and we had about a 6-month window, effectively delay of having to wait. It's a good story though, because in that time, we're talking about fast-paced industry, things change, and that's exactly what happened. And we were looking at what could we do in that space. We looked at mezzanines, we looked at pick towers, we looked at just racking, and what we found was that even though the capital cost on paper was more, when we stripped out the complexity of everything else, consolidation, all the extra checking they would have to do, all the extra movements, it became a no-brainer to actually just expand the system with more locations. And we didn't need to actually put more robots in, because a lot of the stock that was going in was the real tail end stuff where maybe they may have only sold a few that year. Again, really harboring on that point of flexible automation. You can expand one without having to expand the other. Which was a really great thing to kind of experience firsthand, because we always say that. It's always the sales story.
It's a living example of it.
And this is a living example.
So effectively, what we're saying is that after contract signature, after design freeze, even
it was.
So there was a design freeze, just so you know, because of unforeseen reasons on the customer side, on the getting the permit and all. They had a different idea. They wanted to grow the storage capacity without touching the throughput part of it. So on one hand, you got a decoupled growth or scalability on storage and performance. On the other hand, all the bolts are compatible. You can simply sort of redesign the system. I hate to say it, but you can redo the layouting and make all the materials modular, right? So you can technically you can just redesign it and then go to site with a new solution effectively, right? So that really is a good example of how these things, how flexible ASRS system and the flexible design team from FIRAG could work this together and deliver this, in my opinion, very good added value or flexibility towards an end customer.
Yeah, and there aren't many suppliers you could do that with as so easily and as flexibly as we've had the experience of doing it with you guys. That's not to say we want every project to do that, because we don't. But I have to say, when looking at who to partner with, who do you trust, who do you know can deliver when things happen, as life does, in a way that makes sense. And you guys have always come to the party there. So it's a great thing.
And to make it even more, I'd say, interesting and complex is that on the software level, the customer is also doing something in parallel, right? That's and lucky for us as the ASRS system, we are the box mover. We don't have to technically do anything about it, right? But you guys had put in some effort in helping them with that.
Yep, that's it. So we're providing full WMS, WCS. We can't quite see it in the picture there fully, but transport conveyor, managing the bulk store, the other pick faces, etc., etc. So, for us, it's a great, simple system, but we remain we keep control over all these different flows under FIRAG. So, really, really happy with how that's turned out.
And they're, I think you mentioned somewhere earlier that they're also sort of going through a change of their ERP system in parallel.
Yes,
with
indeed.
all of that. So you don't want to do that. It's not recommended, but in case you do need, it is possible, and it has been done, just so to speak. All right. So from that very good example of Prestige Leisure, what would you say that Hai and FIRAG and our integration partners together, what would be the unique added value that we can propose to the market, to our potential customers in the fashion and apparel industry? Yeah,
so it's not just about the product as such. I think when choosing automation, we need to look at the integrator, the experience with the partner, and we've got a lot of experience together, at a personal level and as a business level. or I personally had experience with Hai at one of your first projects back in 2019 or 18 or something like that, which means we've got an extensive knowledge base. But knowledge without experience, there's a disconnect. Yeah. So as a team, we've delivered several Hai projects, and we've been through that journey with you now several times, so we understand each other. There's a good cultural fit, and it really, really de-risks the implementation. It de-risks the after sales because you know what to expect when the wagon shows up, so to speak. Yeah. And by doing that, you know, as a systems integrator, of course, you want to be like agnostic to a degree, but I think it's very important that you work with a select preferred partners so that you gain this collective experience, because one product might be slightly better in one element, but if it's a pain to deliver later down the line, then it's no good. So I think our USP is our commitment to Hai, actually, in wanting to be the best integrator in the space, delivering especially in fashion and apparel markets. Yeah,
that's definitely music to my ears. But yeah, so in general, I would conclude that Hai focusing primarily on the ASRS part of the business. We work with our integration partners to make turnkey solutions. And it happens that with FIRAG, we've done several cases together already. Prestige Leisure, you've seen already, another one in the UK, and over other countries as well. And me and Nick, we knew each other from quite a few years back already. He's been selling Hai even from an earlier life as well, right? So exactly. I would say that he knows a thing or two about Hai, and I also do know a thing or two about him and his team as well. I trust that with a close collaboration that Hai has with our partners in terms of understanding the product, understanding the customer's need, understanding also the trend on the market, we could definitely come up with very competitive and creative solutions that can help our customers in the fashion and apparel world. Yeah, cool. That actually marks the end of the presentation. We have a couple of minutes left on the clock. I would like to mention that there was one slide earlier about the Hai systems, right? Some of you might remember, I didn't spend too much time on it. One of the reasons is that there is this Hai Next Tech Tour coming up in our demo center next week. Feel free to scan the QR codes, register for it, and then you can see all the systems live in our demo center. We're not far away from the Amsterdam airport, so it's rather easy. Wherever you're based in Europe, it should be rather easy for you to get here. I think Nick himself came by. We didn't pick him up or anything. He found his way around, so it would be rather easy. And we're doing this on a regular basis. Stay tuned for our next Hai Next tour as well if you can't make it for this one. All right, enough said. Let's look at some of the questions that we have from the audience. The one that I can see from the top is how adaptable is a system for existing warehouses that were never designed for automation? Well, from our side, we said there has constantly been a challenge to space, right? So many of the projects we've done are actually on the brownfield in existing environment. I mean, the example we showed, Prestige Leisure, that's a greenfield. You heard about the building permit and so on and so forth. But some of the other projects we did are definitely in old factories and old warehouses. Last year, we did a project in Germany. The building was built, I think, before Second World War, and then there's a prison next door and so on and so forth. It's a bit complex, an old building. So our system, especially an AMR-based system, doesn't really have much requirement on the infrastructure itself. It doesn't work in your living room, but it does work in a you do need to patch up the floor a little bit if it is too roughed up. But we don't really have much of a requirement on the infrastructure itself. Yeah. And then the next one coming up is how do you stop returns processing from slowing down the rest of the warehouses? This comes from a process design point of view, right? So we move boxes, as mentioned, as an ASRS. So I think, Nick, this might be the best for you to answer it from the bird view, as a whole contractor.
So I'll give an example, really using the pouch, because I think obviously we're talking about the USPs of us combining systems. So we may remember that we mentioned that it's a buffer system. So traditionally, when you get returns, many fashion apparel businesses tend to either have very small slots and they'll go to pick from those first, or they'll dump quite a lot of things into one tote and then they have to kind of shuffle through it later. By using the pouch system, we can actually induct the return into the pouch and then not actually put it back to storage. So we can create a buffer because that's the item that most companies want to go out first anyway.
Yes.
So in doing that, we actually don't have an impact on the ASRS system at all. It's like 2-3 potentially extra touches that we take out. So again, this is quite a unique proposition. Not many integrators can offer that, and that's again why we can process returns without slowing down the rest of the system.
It's I think the key point is to utilize, as you mentioned, we are the ASRs, the automated storage and retrieval system. Whereas if you use a pouch, it can serve as a transport, as a sortation and buffering engine as well. What you need from a return is to buffer it temporarily and to get it out real quick, right? So that would the combination of the solution would really solve it. I see my colleagues trying to point me at a certain question. Do you have manual backup storage and operate and replenishment model? Or is it all storage included within the Hai system? That's again a very good question. I'd say let's divide this in two parts, right? So my answer is it depends on the design. So this typically will come from the integrator, from our partners, saying that in this particular user case, it makes sense to store everything in the Hai system, or in another application, maybe it makes sense to have a buffer storage on pallets, stacking carton boxes somewhere, and then replenish the Hai system. So I think a very good example is Prestige Leisure, right? So they sort of change their decision along the process of designing.
So I think in apparel, it's most stock comes in bulk, loose from overseas, and they tend to order a lot of stuff at the same time to get it in. So you don't necessarily want everything going into the pick engine, to be honest. So in the case of Prestige and many other businesses, you'll have a separate bulk store, but these wouldn't be unit pick faces. They would just be the spillover that is not in the main system. So I'm not sure if the question is directed as to, well, what happens if something goes wrong or what. But generally you would still have a segregation of pickable stock versus bulk. That said, we do look at solutions where we can store cases directly in the Hai system. We can tray it, pick directly out of case. There's loads of cool things we can do. But again, especially the customers that don't have a lot of control of their entire supply chain, the variability of the cartons is so massive that actually it's quite difficult to tray or do anything other than just put them in a bulk location anyway.
So I'd say we can do both. We could tray all the cartons as well, which we have done as well. So that means everything goes into the warehouse will end up in the Hai system. Everything leaves the warehouse will be from the Hai system. That's a possibility. Whereas more often you do have a box storage somewhere as a reserve, and you replenish the pick engine, which is made up from the Hai ASR system. Okay. We have time for one more question. Yes. Okay. So that's the one. In large-scale apparel automation, I've often seen real complexity emerge, not from the mechanics, but from growing ambiguity between WMS, orchestration, and WCS execution ownership. How does Hai approach that boundary and avoid scalability issues as operational complexity increases? It's a really, really good question. Short answer is that we leave the complex part to our partners.
I was just waiting for that. Absolutely right. So that responsibility is actually very clear. So you say, well, it's a bit shady, but it's not. Like when we look at it, when we do the FDSs and we do these process mapping, the part between Hai and the WCS or the WMS is very clear. It's an extremely clear boundary, what Hai is responsible for and what the upstream system is responsible for. Now, the blurry lines certainly do come now between WMS, WCS, and actually that's why working with the right integrator is so important, because if they have a flexible WCS, the whole blurry nature is actually in your favor, because there might be a bunch of stuff you want your WMS to handle. You don't want to pass it to another system. And instead of thinking as them separately, think about them as like giving each other a bit of a hug. You know, one will take one process and one will take the other. And instead of seeing a threat by that unclear line, use it to your advantage. Now, of course, as long as it's all specified out so we know what we're delivering, that's what's important. But yeah, there's definitely functionality crossover now between, you know, the execution, the control, and the management for sure. Yeah.
The again, a short answer from Hai side to that question is that typically the actual hard work on the software part in terms of optimizing or connecting to the WMS is done by the integration partner of ours. Yeah. What we as an ASRS could offer is to keep the flexibility to however you change the system. For one, like mentioned, most of our stations, designed workstations are rather flexible in terms of piece picking, batch picking, full box picking, and all of that. So if someday you decide to change your picking strategy on the WMS level, or you decided to change the flow to add sortation or to start order picking from WCS or WMS point of view, our station could adapt to that. On the other hand, what we said about the decoupled storage and throughput capacity also allows a bit more flexibility in that. So in any case, if you decide to do from batch picking to order picking, you need more bots, you need more throughput out of the picking engine, we can simply add more bots to it. Yeah, so that's a part that we remain flexible. We could facilitate the changes upstream. On the other hand, we also offer what we call an emulator. So that's a digital twin. So whatever test you want to do, whatever different picking strategy you want to try out, you guys can work out the your software marriage, so to speak, and you can test it in a sandbox in our environment, which is a digital twin made from the actual system, see how the impact is, and decide if you actually want to do that software work or not. So by doing that, we sort of segregate the real world from a sandbox, and then you can test it out, try it out, and see if it makes sense. And if so, you can actually put changes to the actual real world system. Yeah, so
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's I think that concludes today's webinar. I'd like to thank you all for your attention. Stay tuned for our HaiNext Tech Tour if you want to see the systems in real life. And thank you again, Nicholas, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.